Hey y'all, whether you're an avid listener already or want to make your own podcast like me, Anchor is the easiest way to get started. Let me tell you about it. It's free. You can record and edit your podcast directly from your phone or computer. Anchor will do all the heavy lifting and distribute your podcast for you to major platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can even make money from your podcast. Yes, you can secure the bag with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey y'all, thank you so much for clicking on yet another episode of Pages from My Notebook, a True to Life podcast. My name is Erica, I'm your host. And this week I'm fed up. This week I've just been... Let me backtrack because honestly, it's not that bad. I can admit when I'm being over dramatic. But this retrograde season, Miss Mercury, her Gatorade has gone bad. Her microbraids are too tight. Her Powerade was not hitting. She has just been messing up so many things. And I know when I start to feel off or anxious, it's probably my hormone. There's something going on. And then I remember that this hoe be retrograding. And that's why everything is going to shit. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what Mercury in her microbraids actually means and how it can manifest in your life, and also the things I do, the steps I take to try and manage it. I also have my glass of Stella Rosa wine, so if this episode is a little all over the place, that's why. But girl, I need it. So if you're interested in listening to that, keep on listening. So if you clicked on this episode, well, let me not assume because I don't know you like that. But anyone that has been on the internet for any amount of time has probably heard of the phenomenon of Mercury in retrograde. And of course, Black people being creative, we call it something else. And my favorite iteration of this term is Mercury in microbraids, hence the title. This is a period where everything just seems to be going wrong. Technology goes wrong, communication is thrown off, all of these things. And this is because way back when people were making the almanac and studying the planets and stuff, they thought that Mercury would travel backwards. And so when Mercury is in retrograde, aka backwards motion, this motion was associated with confusion, frustration, all of these different things. Now the gag is Mercury is never actually really changing directions. Planets don't do that. That's just not a thing that happens. So to us, it's really just an illusion of the way that the Earth is positioned. It's the same how people originally thought that the sun revolved around the Earth. So we thought that Mercury was doing the moonwalk and going backwards, and that's why everything was messing up. But really, it's just an illusion of us. But regardless of that fact, 3 times a year, Mercury is in this supposed retrograde and things start going wrong. Now, Miss Mercury, she is responsible for communication. That means talking, listening, writing, speaking, whatever. So everything just seems to be off. And that also includes activities here I'm reading related to communication. So that means contracts, even the mail, traveling is going to be thrown off by Mercury having her 24-hour-long microbraid appointment. For me, when Mercury is getting her hair did, she's uncomfortable, so everybody else has to be uncomfortable. She decided to get micros butt length, so they're going to take at minimum 12 hours to complete. So she is going to take it on everybody else, and you're just going to feel off. For me, when Mercury tends to be in retrograde, everything just gets on my nerves. Everything is just like, why would other people do that? Usually it is with communications. Sometimes it's like, why would you say that? Why would you feel the need to have that come out of your mouth? Things aren't making sense. People that are usually rational aren't. People that usually aren't rational are. Everybody is just hypersensitive to words and communication around this time. And it's always like, dang, why is this person acting like this? Why would they say that? And you look at the calendar, oh, Mercury, she's drinking her Gatorade again. And even in the way that I talk to myself is thrown off. Like, my self-esteem goes down. I feel like I'm making more mistakes. And it's like, damn, why am I being extra hard on myself? And it's something in the air with Mercury. I just feel like I'm questioning everything. Everyone is in a mood. Everyone is going through something all at the same time all of a sudden. And I tend to feel sick, extra tired. And it just feels like nothing is normal or nothing is going right. Like, I'll stub my toe more than usual, or I'll accidentally pick up something that was expired at the grocery store. And it's just like the entire world is conspiring against me for whatever reason. Again, Mercury is associated with confusion, delay, frustration. All of the above happen both internally and externally while Mercury is in retrograde. And usually during these times, because it happens 3 times a year, I can just brush it off. Maybe it's 1 or 2 things, or I just take a nap and everything feels better. But this time, she's messing with my technology. And that's the most annoying thing, because I work remotely. Everything in my life is usually connected to some digitized arena or account or something. And everything's just been going wrong. My passwords aren't saving. My computer is running out of memory, so things are running slow. Google Drive crashes. Nothing is uploading. My university cloud system isn't saving things. The remote functions aren't working, so I can't pull up programs to do for my internship. I can't find a free editing software because everything other than Windows Movie Maker, RIP, is too difficult for me to learn. And just recently, before I started recording this episode, I got my Kindle out of the closet because I wanted to download some library books, and my password, that's been the same password since I got it in 2015, is not working. I guess I changed it. I don't remember what it is. And the only other option to get back into my Kindle device is to wipe the whole thing and reset it. I have so many files, fan fictions, stories downloaded onto this thing. This is like a time capsule. A lot of these things I still haven't finished. And while, yes, I haven't opened my Kindle in a long while, it's the principle of the thing. And that's what pisses me off. That was the last straw that broke the camel's back. I feel like everything is conspiring against me. I don't know what this is meant to teach me. My screen time, well, child, I can't even say it's gone down because I turned it off because I felt so bad about it, and it just kept increasing. Is it telling me to log off? Like, go outside, touch grass, get some fresh air? Probably. It's like this whole season has been strange for me, and a lot of people who have seasonal affective disorder feel sad when it gets colder. So in the wintertime, just their mood goes down. But for me, that tends to be in the summertime. And I think it's because I am an anxious person. And so in the summer, without the structure and security of a school semester, deadlines to meet, things to do, places to be, my mind starts to race and wander. And it's a big time on social media where people are showing off their vacations and new things they bought and their boyfriends and their friend groups and their cute outfits and their money, and them living this lavish life and having fun because they don't have as many responsibilities as they do during the rest of the year. And for me, I still struggle a lot and have a problem, I think, with comparing myself to others. And that's the craziest thing, comparing yourself to strangers on the internet who you don't know what they've been through, what they do for a living, how they got to where they're at, what they're still dealing with, despite what they show you that looks like it's all fun and games and rainbows and butterflies and chicken wings, you know? And I start to feel down on myself like, wow, maybe I don't have as many friends as I thought. Maybe I don't dress as cute as I thought. Maybe I don't look this way I thought I looked. Maybe I'm not the person I think I am. And it's this very uncomfortable period where I'm just so discontent with myself and my life, and I tend to get sad and feel down. And the days are so beautiful outside, but I just look out and I don't have enough energy. And I say all that to say that this is amplified by Mercury getting her braids done because communication is off. So I'm reading into things differently. People are saying things differently. You know, the communication is off. I feel like when I vent to family and friends, people aren't understanding or they're not receptive in the way that I need them to be. And since my communication is off, I can't tell them, you know, I just need you to do this or listen X, Y, and Z way. So everyone's just walking around ready to fight for no good reason. And it's really unhelpful also living alone because I feel like I'm a burden on other people because of the effectiveness, the seasonal effectiveness disorder, and this gap in communication and how people talk to each other. So it just sort of spirals again. And of course I'll have good days, better days where it's not as bad. But during these periods, it's just extra crazy. It feels like I'm completely off balance. My life is a sham. What am I doing here? Am I really existing in the fullest capacity that I can? And even now, sitting recording this podcast, I've been in such a creator slump. All the ideas for episodes I feel like aren't good enough. I'm questioning, have I overshared too much? Which, of course, the answer is yes, but I know my reasons for doing that, and I start to question those during this time. Like, why am I talking about these things and no one else talks about? Are these ideas even good? Do people want to listen to this? Oh, my streaming numbers aren't as good as other people. I saw this one girl celebrate her 1-year anniversary of the podcast, and she had 20,000 listens in 1 year. I'm nearing my 1-year anniversary next month, and I'm nowhere near that. And I was like, okay, then I should just shut this down right now because obviously nobody cares to listen to me speak. But I had to stop and think. The person in question that I saw, it was a white girl talking about travel. So of course, she's going to pull from a different audience. It's a topic everyone likes to talk about. There are more white people with the means to travel than I, and white women are going to have different travel experiences than I would. So of course our audiences are going to be different, and hers is a little wider versus me, a regular black girl talking about her traumas and life experiences, you know? So that's what keeps coming up, is me feeling inadequate compared to all of these people communicating their lives and their successes online. And during retrograde, it gets harder to differentiate. Is this person just sharing because they're happy? Or is it a personal attack on me, a stranger who they have no idea exists? And it sounds funny, but that's really how it feels. Everything feels like I have to take it personally. Everything feels like an attack. I start to see messages in things that really aren't there. And it's the worst when I start to question who I am as a person. Because like my Instagram story viewers will be lower than usual. And I'm like, do people not like me? Do people unfollow me? Do people block me? Am I boring now? Am I not funny? Like, have people just finally decided this is the last straw? Oh, I hate this bitch. Like, it goes from 0 to 100 for whatever reason. It's like, no, sweetie, that's not the case. It's just some computer algorithm not showing me to other people or whatever the case may be. But the real lesson is I shouldn't care that much about little numbers on a screen or what reach I'm having outside of this podcast or something that doesn't require benchmarks to hit or goals to have. It doesn't matter how many followers I have on my personal Instagram or how many likes I get on a picture. If I feel good and I'm connecting with people and fostering relationships with people I care about or people I think are cool or sharing information, that's what really matters. But during retrograde, it's really hard, again, to convey all of that because your communication is thrown off and you're focusing on the different wrong things that make you feel like everything that you're doing is wrong. And for me, that can tend to lead to isolation. Or even today, I just sat in bed and was on TikTok, Instagram, watching people's stories just to not escape, but I guess feel like, I don't even know what I was doing, but the end result was that I felt like, wow, all these people are out here living life and I'm in my bed watching them live life. And it's just this very weird comparison. Everything is, I take everything personally. It's like, oh, if I see these people with their group of friends, that means, oh, I don't have friends. Or if I see these people out to dinner, it means, oh man, they know that I don't have it in my budget this month to take myself out. You know what I mean? And after a while, because this retrograde period lasts for 2 to 3 weeks, you're like, am I going crazy? Like, do I need to talk to somebody? Do I need to go somewhere and get this sorted out? That's why I feel like I just need to pause from life because nothing is going right and I just don't feel like myself. So after all that, and this episode is going to be shorter because again, I feel like my communication style has been thrown off and I don't really know if what I'm saying is making sense. Like when I go back and edit this, I'm going to be like, what are you talking about? But in the name of consistency and staying true to myself, I'm going to put it out there anyway and push past the uncomfortability of it. But these are some ways really how to cope with life, but how to cope with this time where everything feels off. The first of these is to remind yourself that this is temporary. These retrograde periods last about a month, unfortunately, looking at this, but that also doesn't mean that's going to be at its worst height or peak during that entire time. Just like a headache is temporary or heartbreak is temporary, so is this time where it seems like everyone needs their space. We're all humans. This is just an ebb and flow of existing in a body with a mind that's capable of thought. Sometimes things are just going to be off, and that's going to help us appreciate the good times. But also knowing that the good times are temporary makes us appreciate them even more and learn from them so that when things get weird, we can remember how it felt when they were better and what we did during those times to keep it that way. The second tip I have is to extend yourself and others more grace. And in this culture where we put our best moves online and everyone seems like they're winning, we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we're doing, but also we don't let ourselves just be. A big thing I've been learning this year is how to just exist, how to not critique what I'm doing, what I'm wearing, what I look like, but to just be me in the setting that I'm in the body that I'm in the mind that I have, and just exist. And I'm working on giving myself more grace in allowing myself to rest when I'm tired, allowing myself to admit when I don't know something and step away from it, allow myself to listen to my body's needs and not push myself past these points that don't make me feel good and don't help me or anything else. And I know when I am feeling away or something is going on, sometimes my tone can come off a little bit rude or snippy, or I can sound like a bitch or whatever. And so I know when I'm feeling these ways, I have to say to myself, self, you're having a moment right now. We need to sit down, have some water, maybe close our eyes, and come back to it later. And I'm starting to remember to give that to other people, because we all have our own ideas of how people show up in our minds, right? So how I perceive myself is completely different from how everyone else around me perceives me, and vice versa. So if I always expect one person to show up a certain way and they show up the complete opposite, that's going to throw me off and think, oh, something's wrong. but really they're just a person who's going through their own stuff. So it's not fair for me to expect people to show up the same exact way every time, and I need to extend them the grace to have the room to breathe and transform and be the person that they really are in whatever moment that we're sharing. So just remember to slow down, allow yourself room to not feel good, and to tend to your needs, and do the same for people that you interact with. And that can also mean just not interacting at all. Sometimes you just need space. You just need to be by yourself or around a different group of people. And that doesn't mean either of you are bad. It just means that's what you need in that moment. And the last tip I have is to reassess your responsibilities and your boundaries. Even though this time where Mercury is getting her braids in, it feels like everyone is just pushing. The communication is thrown off. We feel like everyone is doing too much. But instead of just blaming it on the time and waiting for it to go back to quote unquote normal, we should use this introspection not as an annoyance, but to look at, hey, maybe overall I can step back from this, and this so that these, and these boundaries aren't crossed on a daily basis, and it won't lead up to a greater frustration that is then emphasized during this time of the month. One of my favorite tips from therapy was to list the things we have to do or the things we do each day that deplete us and replenish us. And this time where everyone is getting on your nerves could be a good time for you to just write down how you're feeling. Feel how you feel with yourself. And after you feel your emotions, you can look at it a little more rationally and think about and see the places where you can show up for yourself more and extend your energy a little bit less in order to show up for yourself in that way. Maybe this is the time you tell your boss to stop emailing you at 6 p.m. on a Saturday. Maybe this is the time you tell your significant other to stop leaving toothpaste stains in the bathroom sink instead of just cleaning it up every time. Assert yourself and your boundaries in a kind way, but in a way that makes life a little bit easier for you. And if you care, the people around you. I even have to get myself together. I have to be like, Erica, close the window. Close the laptop. Sometimes, because my computer's been messing up, my browser window will just close and I'll be like, well, that's it for me. I have to remember the boundaries that I put up and for me to not cross them myself. Because if you can't respect your own boundaries, how the hell are you going to expect somebody else to? So that was this week's episode on Mercury in Microbraids. I feel like I need to hurry up and edit and save this and upload it so that nothing goes wrong, the file doesn't get deleted, or whatever she feels fit to do to me for the rest of this time that she's running like a track star backwards with her fresh set of braids. But I just want you all to remember that even though Mercury looks like it's going backwards, it's really just an illusion from the point of view that we have right now. And sometimes life is just messed up. Things just go wrong. But remember to use these times as points of reflections to tend to yourself, your emotions, and extend yourself and others the grace we all need to get through this thing we call life. So, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. And I hope you enjoyed. And I hope to have you listening again soon. Bye. Pages from My Notebook, a True to Life podcast, is a passion project by yours truly, Erica Barnes. Read episode descriptions and more at pagesfrommynotebookpod.com. Follow the pod on Instagram at pagesfrommynotebookpod and like the pod on Facebook at facebook.com/pagesfrommynotebookpod. You can support the pod monthly via Anchor at anchor.fm/Erica-Barnes/support. I hope to have you listening again soon.